157, what a weight it's going to be, and what a different weight this is going to be from a year ago. I'm going to go over my NCAA champion prediction, all 8 All-Americans plus the round of 12. Going to give you a sense of the main departures out of this weight class, some of the new faces to look out for, as well as a couple of wild cards. And really, the story for this weight really centers around, at least at the start, especially in the preseason, around how many major departures there were from this weight class a year ago. This weight loses NCAA champion Levi Haynes. It appears he's moving up to 157 pounds. But listen to all these other All-Americans. You got Bryce Andonian, Peyton Robb, Jared Franick, Will Luan, Michael Blockus, Brayton Lee, Brock Mahler. That's 8 All-Americans. An entire podium gone from this weight class. In addition to another key name, Cody Chittum, who I believe is going to be taking a red shirt this year. That part is not confirmed. But the other 8 wrestlers are all gone. So this weight is going to look very different. Now, who are some of the new faces that are entering at 157 pounds? Well, Paniro Johnson, I believe, is going to be up at 157. That's not yet confirmed at this point, but my prediction is Anthony Echemendia goes 149. 157's Paniro, and Cody Chittum has that red shirt, so it makes sense for him to use it. Another name that maybe you should keep an eye out for at this weight class is Alex Facundo. Now, Alex is in a unique position with Penn State because they're so deep at a couple different weight classes. He's probably a 65-pounder. They got Mitchell Messenbrink, right? We'll talk about him a little more later. So he's not going to beat out Mitchell. 174, it looks like it's going to be Levi. So there's rumors, non-confirmed, that he could be making the descent down to 157. But the next new face I'm going to bring up, I think, could be a huge obstacle for him, and that's Tyler Kasek. Tyler was 3rd last year for Penn State at 149, and it seems like he's going to be well-sized for 157 with the return of Shane Van Ness for Penn State. Kasek, I believe, is going up to 157. We're going to see him tested early. I believe he's wrestling in the All-Star Classic. So for Tyler Kasek, he's definitely a significant force, a new face at this weight class, and could be a major impediment for Alex Facundo as he's trying to start here. A couple other names, and then we'll get going. Patty Gallagher from Ohio State. Now, Patty was a #1 recruit coming out of the class of 2020, and he's battled injuries and some other setbacks. But I think if you look at some of Patty's results, you realize he's pretty dang tough. He's got some nice wins in his career. He's coming off of a season-ending injury a year ago, back into the lineup. Antrell Taylor for Nebraska going down to 157 from after All-Americaning at 165 last year. He obviously is going to be an impact guy at this weight class, and he's been a 157 all along. He was wrestling at 65 for better lineup synergy. Now he's at his natural weight class, so you can expect some improvement for him. So those are some big names, key faces to replace some of that talent that has left this weight class from a year ago. Some of the wild cards, some guys that, I'm not sure of. I feel like these guys have high upside, but there's also some consistency issues and some other questions around these guys that make you wonder if they can get on that podium, if they can enter into that round of 12 status. One of them, Rafael Hipolito of Virginia Tech. This guy is someone I've talked about in the past. He's got a really crazy style. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's from Brazil. He moved to Northern Virginia in high school, and he's taken to wrestling really well. There's a lot of overlap there between jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and he has just seemed to improve more and more as he's been around the sport, and now at Virginia Tech, a great environment obviously to train and improve, and they expect big things from him. Big thrower, a lot of dynamic moves, but there's still a lot to learn from that, from jiu-jitsu to folk style, and there's a lot of nuance, and the level is so high collegiately that he's still probably got a little bit to go. So he's probably the main wild card for me, but another guy to watch out for, Kobe Seabrecht. He's transferred from Iowa to South Dakota State. He was out last year with the suspension around the gambling stuff, but the year before he was a solid All-American contender. Really unique style, good scrambler, good out of upper body positions. He could take a step forward for South Dakota State, as could Chase Saldate, who transferred to Michigan. He was at Michigan State the previous couple of years. Now Michigan, great track record there. They've been finished on the trophies in the past couple of years. And could that change of scenery help Chase Saldate? I think it's entirely possible. So those are some of the wild cards. A reminder, last year, Levi Haynes was the NCAA champion. He took out Ja'Cory Teamer to win that NCAA title. Okay, so I'm going to go over my round of 12 and my 8 All-Americans. And there were some really hard decisions in here. I got a bunch of crossed out names and guys that I had placing in the round of 12. I think it's that close, especially between the round of 12 and some of the low AAs. I think there's a lot of commonality. There's not a lot separating these guys. So my round of 12, Northern Colorado's Vinny Zerban. He's had some big wins in his career. It's finding that consistency. He's another guy I could have put in my wild card category. I think he finishes in the round of 12, along with Kobe Seabrecht of South Dakota State, Chase Saldate of Michigan, and Paniro Johnson. Maybe a surprise to some of you to see him outside the top 8. I have him in the round of 12, and I think Paniro, I talked a little bit about this on the show, but there's a couple things that helped me arrive at the conclusion. And obviously, he's All-American caliber, no question about it. But for Paniro, one, I don't think this is his weight class. I think he's a 49. I think he's moving up for the lineup, but I think his best weight class is 149. Two, his consistency wasn't really there 2 years ago when he was in the lineup for Iowa State. He had the big win over Austin Gomez. He did beat Shane Van Ness before Shane really emerged, but he took some weird losses. He had a John Wiley loss in there, had some other kind of unranked or fringe ranked guys. They were able to beat him. So for Paniro, I haven't seen that level of consistency I want to see to know he's for sure a podium guy. So I have him on the outside, and that's why I'm explaining it a little more, because it could be a little surprising. And I do think he could place. But right now, I'm going with a different group of 8. And in 8th place, I've got Ed Scott of NC State. He's a guy with a lot of big wins over his career. Consistency could be called into question for Ed. Some guys he beat will beat him, and a little inconsistent there, but he's a goer. He can score in a lot of different positions, and I see him finishing on the podium 8th place for NC State. 7th place, I've got Ryder Downey. Ryder was a big surprise a year ago for Northern Iowa, but he's got some great wins. He's beaten Peyton Robb, beat Cody Chittum. I think he's got a great chance to finish on the podium this year after maybe falling just a little short a year ago. Ryder Downey, really tough guy for UNI, can wrestle from everywhere. 6th place, this is another maybe stretch prediction from me, but I've got Paddy Gallagher finishing in 6th place. Paddy's a ferocious hand fighter, very aggressive wrestler. He's got big wins. He had big wins last year before losing his season to injury. He he beat Peyton Keller, who I'm going to get to in a little bit, but Peyton Keller was an All-American last year, and Paddy was able to beat him along with some other nice wins. So I think Paddy's going to have a big step forward this year, and Ohio State needs him to do just that, and I'm expecting it for Paddy. 5th place, Antrell Taylor. And this is a bit of a hedge here, because for Antrell, you could say, man, moving up or down to 157, more ideal weight class, maybe he's the top 3 guy. That's entirely possible. That wouldn't surprise me. Kind of threaded the needle there, went right dead center of the weight. But Antrell Taylor, very hard guy to take down, really good offense, positionally sound. Look for him to have a strong showing this year for the Cornhuskers, who need him to have a strong showing if they want to finish with a trophy this year. 4th place, I've got Peyton Keller, the Ohio Bobcats. Now, this is a guy who was way under the radar last year, and I want to focus in a little bit on some of his wins. This guy had a pin over Bryce Andonian. He beat Ed Scott, and he also beat Peyton Robb last year to go with a couple other really big wins. Peyton Keller is the real deal. He's not a fluke. He can wrestle from everywhere. He's got a really unique style. He is a pinner through and through, and don't be surprised to see him pin a lot more guys. But I was a little nervous picking him to finish this high, because last year, I feel like Peyton had that element of surprise. Now everyone is going to be preparing and getting up for their Peyton Keller match. And I think that the fact that he's a little tricky, could he get found out a little bit? Could he take a step back? That's possible. But the wins speak for themselves, and I'm picking him to finish 4th until those other guys prove they can knock him off. 3rd place, I got Tyler Kasak, Penn State. I think he will be the guy for Penn State. I think the improvement we've seen from Tyler makes me think he's a title contender this year. I really believe he can beat all these guys. But I have him finishing in 3rd, identical finish to last year. Probably a lot of bonus points along the way. But right now, I'm not convinced he's going to be able to beat the two guys I have finishing in front of him. Number 2, Ja'Cory Teamer for Iowa. He transfers from Arizona State to Iowa. He's a guy who, we've seen his counter offense is crazy good. He can generate from his feet. Very hard guy to take down. And it served him well en route to an NCAA Finals finish a year ago, his highest finish of his career. Now at Iowa, expect him not to have any regression in his performance. But to get over the hump, he's going to have to beat a guy that I view as having the most offense at this weight class, and that's Meyer Shapiro from Cornell. I have Meyer Shapiro winning this weight class, and there's no secret with me how highly I think of Meyer. I was talking about him all last year as a potential superstar, and he had a great true freshman year, finishing 3rd at NCAAs, avenging some losses, scoring a lot of points along the way. And I think for Meyer, a year of that experience, he knows what the NCAA grind is about, and I think with all his the ways he can score, I look for him to win the NCAA title this year. Now, there's a big name I did not mention, and that's Daniel Cardenas of Stanford. Now, am I saying I don't think he'll finish round of 12 or top 8? No, it's not that. I think there's a good chance that Cardenas redshirts this year. And if he does that, then obviously he's not placing, right? So that's why he was not included. If I did have Cardenas in there, I think he's squarely in that conversation with Meyer, who he's beaten, with Ja'Cory Teamer, with Tyler Kasich. But I think he's going to redshirt this year, so he's not in that conversation. Of note, Ja'Cory Teamer has owned the series against Daniel Cardenas. They wrestled a bunch of times, and Ja'Cory won pretty handily almost every single time. So I think he would probably be a rung behind him, but he would definitely be a tough out if he were to wrestle at this weight class. Really fun weight, a lot of questions, a lot of turnover. The podium's going to look completely different from a year ago. I got Meyer winning. Not a ton of confidence, really. Some of these weights I feel really good about. Meyer can definitely do it. I err on the side of offense. That's why I picked Meyer. Who do you got? Who's on your podium? Who are your national champion predictions for 157 this year? I want to hear from you.